You know that rhythm in your chest, your heartbeat? Well, it's way more than just a simple beat. It's this incredible, sophisticated, continuous loop of contraction and relaxation that we call the cardiac cycle. Okay, let's get right into this mechanical marvel. Get this, at a normal resting heart rate, say about 75 beats a minute, this is how long the whole thing takes. Just zero point 0.8 seconds. In less than a second, your heart completes one full cycle to pump life-sustaining blood throughout your entire body. It's just an amazing feat of timing and efficiency. So, the entire cycle basically breaks down into two fundamental parts. First up, you've got systole. That's the powerful contraction, the big squeeze where the ventricles pump blood out. And then you have diastole. That's the relaxation period, the refill, where the ventricles get ready for the next beat. So just think, squeeze and refill, contraction and relaxation. All right, so to really get our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with what the cardiac cycle actually is. Then we'll dig into the two main acts, the squeeze and the refill. After that, we'll see how it all syncs up, and finally, we'll talk about why this cycle is so incredibly important. So, what is the cardiac cycle? Well, officially, it's everything that happens from the beginning of one heartbeat to the beginning of the very next one. And even though we think of it as those two main parts, systole and diastole, it's actually broken down into a sequence of 6 distinct phases, all crammed into that tiny 0.8-second window. Pretty wild, right? Let's kick things off with the first big act, ventricular systole, the squeeze. This is kind of the high drama part of the whole show, where the ventricles work like crazy to build up immense pressure and just forcefully shoot blood out into the arteries. It all starts with a phase called isovolumic contraction. This kicks in right after the ventricles get their electrical signal to contract, and if you were looking at an ECG, you'd see that as the big spike, the QRS complex. That electrical jolt is the trigger for the heart's main pumping action. Now, what's really fascinating here is the word isovolumic. It literally means same volume. As the ventricles start to squeeze, the pressure inside just skyrockets. This pressure slams the AV valve shut, but it's not quite strong enough yet to pop open the semilunar valves that lead out of the heart. So for just a split second, both sets of valves are locked down and the ventricles are squeezing a fixed amount of blood. Pressure is building, but the volume isn't changing. And this is so cool. This is where that classic heartbeat sound comes from. That really forceful slamming shut of the atrioventricular valves creates vibrations that we hear as the first heart sound, the lub. So when you hear that lub, you know systole has just kicked off. Okay, all that pressure has been building up. It can't stay contained forever. It's like a dam about to burst. And that leads us straight into the most powerful part of the cycle, the ejection phase. Finally, the pressure inside the ventricles gets so high that it becomes greater than the pressure in the aorta and the pulmonary artery. And that is what forces the semilunar valves to fly open. And whoosh, blood is powerfully ejected from the heart. And of course, you can see the ventricular volume dropping as all that blood rushes out. And here's the crucial link to something you probably already know. That peak pressure reached in the left ventricle during ejection, around 120 millimeters of mercury, that is exactly what we measure as your systolic blood pressure. It's the force of that squeeze pushing about 70 milliliters of blood, your stroke volume, out to the rest of your body. All right, so the big squeeze is done. Now, the heart gets to shift gears into its second major act, ventricular diastole. This is the longer, quieter period of relaxation and refilling, and trust me, it's every bit as important as the contraction. And just like systole, diastole begins with its own isovolumic phase. After shooting the blood out, the ventricles start to relax, and the pressure inside them begins to fall fast. So as that ventricular pressure drops below the pressure in the big arteries, blood naturally tries to flow backward. But nope, the semilunar valves snap shut to prevent that. And that closure, that creates the second heart sound, the dub. So there you have it, lub-dub. That sound marks the beginning and the end of ventricular systole. Okay, the ventricles keep on relaxing, and their internal pressure just plummets. As soon as it drops below the pressure in the atria, which are just waiting right above, a whole new set of doors swing open. This kicks off the 2 phases of ventricular filling, first a rapid one, then a slower one. So the atrioventricular valves swing open, and all the blood that has been patiently collecting in the atria just flows right down into the relaxed ventricles. What's amazing is that this is a totally passive process. It's not being pumped, it's just flowing down a pressure gradient. And get this, Most of the ventricular filling, about 75% of it, happens just like this, with no active work at all. We're almost at the end of diastole now, the very last phase before the whole thing starts over. This is called atrial systole, but I like its nickname better, the atrial kick. Right at the very end, the atria themselves give a little squeeze. Now, this isn't the main event, but it's a super important top-off. This atrial kick pushes that final 25% of blood into the ventricles, making sure they are absolutely full, reaching what we call their end diastolic volume and perfectly primed for the next big ventricular squeeze. Okay, we've just gone through 6 different phases, piece by piece. Now let's zoom out and see how they all flow together in one beautiful, seamless, perfectly synchronized cycle. And here it is, the whole story from start to finish. We begin with isovolumic contraction to build that pressure, which leads right into the powerful ejection phase. Then the heart chills out with isovolumic relaxation, which allows for rapid and then slow filling. And finally, that little atrial systole gives the last kick, getting us right back to the beginning. It's just a flawless sequence. This little cheat sheet is a fantastic way to lock it all in. Let's really look at this, because the valves, they're like the traffic cops of the whole cardiac cycle. Check out that valve status column. In phase 1, isovolumic contraction, all the valves are closed. That's the key to building pressure. Then, for ejection, the semilunar valves burst open to let the blood out. They snapshot for isovolumic relaxation, and boom, we're back to all valves being closed as the pressure drops. And finally, during the filling phases, the AV valves are open, letting the ventricles get ready for the next beat. You see, it's this precise opening and closing that dictates every single thing that happens. So you might be thinking, okay, this is a lot of detail. But understanding these little intricacies isn't just for a textbook. It has huge implications for clinical practice and for understanding our own health. So why do we care so much about the precise timing of this 0.8-second process? I mean, what happens when this perfect rhythm gets thrown off? And this right here is the critical takeaway. When your heart rate shoots up, like during some intense exercise, it's the diastole, that filling time, that gets shortened way more than the systole, the contraction time. And if the heart starts beating too fast, the ventricles just don't have enough time to fill up properly. That makes each pump less efficient. This one little insight really shows you the elegant, delicate balance of the cardiac cycle, a balance that keeps us going with every single beat.
Comment your next topic and subscribe MedX Lab.